Welcome to our presentation about the access to Swiss universities for highly qualified people with a refugee background. Thanks for the opportunity to take part in this panel. We will start with a brief outlook of the presentation.
At first, we deal with the situation in the political context of Switzerland and then elaborate more on the main entry and admission hurdles to Swiss universities before we discuss some initiatives and projects that aim to facilitate access to Swiss universities. Then we will present and explain you our own project, Perspective Studies, before coming to a brief conclusion. People with a refugee background bring their own life stories with them. Their lives before the escape and their experiences on the run have left their mark on them. In autumn 2015, several hundred thousand refugees of Syrian but also other origins arrived in Europe within a few weeks. As for the example of Syria, the country had a well-developed tertiary education system before the war. Many refugees have an academic educational background. Since the so-called refugee crisis in Europe, the proportion of highly qualified refugees who have the potential to continue their studies or to qualify for university studies has been increasing as well in Switzerland. It is estimated that 1 in 10 refugees holds a high school or a university diploma. We must deal with estimates since the authorities, namely the State Secretariat of Migration in Switzerland, are not recording the educational level of asylum seekers systematically. Moreover, the residence status of asylum seekers is not systematically recorded when enrolling at universities. Refugees are usually registered as foreign students. Despite their existing qualifications, are Swiss universities still exceedingly difficult to access for student refugees? In what follows, we would like to show you the main reasons for this difficult access by going into the details of the main hurdles for entry and admission. In 2018, the Swiss Confederation and the cantons, the regional governments, have launched a new agenda for integration and have thereby decided to step up their commitment to the integration of refugees and of so-called provisionally admitted persons. In doing that, the Confederation has tripled the payment sum to the cantons for the implementation of every person to be integrated. At the same time, the Confederation and the cantons have agreed on uniform goals and measures in integration, thereby starting a harmonization process. Although the aim of the Swiss integration agenda is to promote refugees and provisionally admitted persons according to their competencies and potential, with potential assessments, tertiary education is not envisaged in the integration process for qualified refugees. Instead, the aim is to achieve rapid and often disqualifying integration into the labor market. Because in the Swiss agenda for integration, tertiary education for people with a refugee background is not excluded, but also not explicitly provided for, there is a general lack of specific support measures to smooth the way for this target group. The main institutional and structural hurdles are to be found in the following areas. In general, it can be said that in the Swiss agenda for integration, promotional measures and preparatory offers for qualified refugees with the intention of studying are missing. Information on the possibilities of studying and the recognition of training is difficult to access. Advice and support from social aid and integration officers is usually not available or still uncoordinated. The focus on the part of integration officers and social aid lies here clearly on vocational training and labor market integration. A major difficulty is the language requirements for admission to university studies. As a rule, these are mostly, especially in Swiss German parts of Switzerland, C1. Within the framework of integration measures, courses up to this language level are rarely offered and financed. As for the topic of funding, In addition to semester fees and other costs, general living expenses are a major challenge for students admitted to regular studies. Students who are dependent on social welfare programs are not supported financially. Moreover, is the access to scholarships regulated at cantonal level and is a major hurdle. For foreigners with a provisionally admission, no scholarships at all are granted. The recognition of diplomas is also time-consuming and costly. Even if Swiss HEI, the official body of Swiss universities for the recognition of foreign higher education qualifications, makes a positive recommendation, the final decision whether someone is granted access to study lies with the individual universities. In the case of non-existent or incomplete diplomas, recognition of prior education, knowledge and skills is not possible. There are in general no alternative recognition procedures such as assessment procedures, sur-dossier admission, etc. In the case of a foreign educational qualification that is recognized but not considered equivalent, the complementary exam of Swiss higher education institutions, ECUS, is the only way to obtain admission to higher education. The examination is an enormous hurdle both in terms of content and financial aspects. Preparatory courses are only offered by 2 private providers and cost between 10,000 and 20,000 Swiss francs. What now appears to be insurmountable hurdles have been partially mitigated in recent years through the initiative of various local university projects and an exemplary pilot project of the University of Geneva, namely the Project Horizon Academic. And in what follows, we will go into more details on the mentioned projects.
In the past 4 years, about 20 initiatives and projects were launched at various Swiss higher education institutions. Their aim lies primarily in supporting refugee students to gain a certain access to universities, for example, as guest auditors. And most projects also supply mentoring and buddy programs to ease the everyday life at university and an eventual enrollment process. Projects can be divided in 2 groups. At first, the guest auditor and trial semester projects, on the map symbolized by 2 people, offer guest auditor possibilities and mentoring. They are mostly student-led initiatives and obtain little or no institutional support. Second, the projects that are designed as bridging offers, on the map, on the card symbolized with bridges, for example, Geneva and Zurich. In addition to the possibility of attending lectures as auditors and mentoring, concrete supportive measures, language and IT courses are offered. These projects enjoy institutional support as they were set up with the support or initiative of the higher education institution. In addition to these projects exist initiatives such as the one in the south of Switzerland, on the map symbolized by hats, where measures are offered within the regular structures such as admission sur dossier. But what benefits do these programs bring to their participants? The survey of our project perspective studies, conducted over 2 years with mentors and mentees of the different projects, show the impact of the auditors and mentoring projects in different areas. First of all, a positive effect can be seen on the linguistic development and social integration of participants. This is particularly the case in the projects offering mentoring. Through direct contact with students, participation in university life and events, an intercultural exchange is created from which mentees and mentors benefit. Participants also benefit from networking within universities and with organizations and can thus make new contacts. In addition, the projects also play an important role in providing information on the Swiss education system and alternative educational pathways, as well as support in the admission process. In this way, they make an important contribution to the orientation and realistic assessment of their admission opportunities, as well as their education capacities in Switzerland. The impact of participating in a project on the self-image and psychological stabilization of individuals is not negligible, as the programs offer structure, recognition, and occupation according to the interests and abilities. If now we are to compare bridge programs such as Horizon Academic of the University of Geneva with a student-led initiative, for example, the one of Basel, the most remarkable differences lies in the amount of people who manage to enroll into a regular program. On the left, often rehearsal, the project of Basel is an independent association with no institutional support. Participants are auditors and can benefit from a student-led buddy program. They have access to the language center and can take part in courses at reduced costs. It's only volunteers that lead this association, and there's only little collaboration with offices from the university. On the other hand, Horizon Academic is a university project which is led in collaboration with the Cantonal Integration Office and part of the Cantonal Integration Program. Participants can attend lectures, pass exams, gain ECTS points, and have a mentoring pool. Language and preparatory classes are offered, and the whole is supported with professionals. In 3 years in Basel, 73 mentees take part in the program, but only 9 people manage to enroll. This is equivalent of 12%. Whereas in Geneva, 136 mentees participate in 3.5 years. 54 people manage to get an admission, which is equivalent of 40%. This comparison shows that support measures adapted to individual needs are indispensable to ensure educational equity for student refugees. To sum up what is needed: specific advice and guidance services, promotional measures and preparatory offers, language courses on level B2, C1, alternative admission procedures such as assessment procedures and sur dossier, and most and for all, institutional support. Perspective Studies is acting as mediating bridge and capacity builder, as cross-linker and sensitizer. Since university institutions were initially reluctant to take action and support options in favor of qualified refugees, the Swiss Student Union began to develop options to close existing gaps as part of the project Perspective Studies. Within the aim of improving access to higher education, the project has set up an information platform aimed at both refugees who wish to study and those who wish to support them. For example, career advisors, students, and so forth. In the past 3 years, Perspective Studies has carried out important information and basic work to gain a better understanding of the situation of student refugees in Switzerland. A position paper as well as political demands are available. 2 demographic reports on participants in local university projects, and a report on the scholarship situation of refugees in Switzerland. An impact analysis summarizes the experiences and findings of the project activities as well as the local university project since 2016. All these publications can be found on the website perspectivestudies.ch. In addition, Perspective Studies has been involved in setting up local university projects, has supported existing projects with training and networking activities, and has fostered exchange with experts in the field of integration and education.
In concluding, we briefly outlined the future fields of actions in which, in our view, the relevant actors should become active. There is still a great deal of untapped potential of refugees who want to pursue an academic career. The hurdles that refugees must overcome to enter university are remarkably high, and the reasons for this are as follows. The refusal on the part of most politicians to recognize that refugees have potential. The widespread attitude in society that educational measures are detrimental to rapid labor market integration. The lack of willingness on the part of integration authorities and on the part of educational institutions to promote and support refugees according to their potential. In other words, to improve access to higher education for refugees in the coming years, actors in the fields of integration, education, vocational training, social welfare, and the labour market must work closely together to develop solutions. In the area of promoting or fostering integration, the Swiss Integration Agenda provides the basics for the cantons to develop concrete support programs for highly qualified refugees, for the transition to tertiary education, and language support programs tailored to individual needs. To create equal opportunities for access to higher education, it is necessary to develop academic bridging programs, which should be financed by the so-called regulatory or state structures. Moreover, case managers have a key role to play in the integration agenda in coordinating potential assessments and drawing up individual integration plans. Here, it must be ensured that persons who have the potential for training at tertiary level are identified. Relevant information, awareness raising, and training for case managers is essential. To achieve opportunities in education, refugees must be given consistent consideration in higher education in the future. Discussions on recognition and admission issues, the development of common standards and orientation towards existing projects and good practices are needed to create equal opportunities in education for refugees. The Lisbon Convention or assessment criteria, such as the ones from the Norwegian NOKUT or the European Qualification Passport of the Council of Europe, could serve here as an orientation. In the area of financing, the aim should be to finance the necessary measures in the longer term via the regulatory or state structures, since education is a fundamental right. In addition, clarification of responsibilities in scholarships and social aid is urgently needed to enable refugees to receive training at tertiary level. Recently, the State Secretariat for Education, Research and Innovation in Switzerland has stated his will to offer to all people the opportunity to develop their full potential in accordance with their competencies and talents. This political will must be followed by concrete action, and the necessary financial resources must be made available. So we are coming to the end of our presentation, and we would like to thank you for your interest and your attention.